Hello and welcome everybody. Jack Acid with ApexHead.com bringing you episode 10 of the F1 2012 Career Mode Series 0 to Hero. And we are at the point where we need to select our rival, and we are going to pick Sebastian Vettel in hopes of taking his seat in Red Bull. And currently running 9 points behind Vettel, who's leading the Drivers' Championship here at Monza, trying to make some ground. So here on lap 2, getting things all wrong, coming around turn 5 and into the gravel. Basically did not have my entry lined up correctly at all, and now trying to fight off Nico Hulkenberg in the Force India car, and he is not alone. Charles Pic in the Marussia, and DRS not enabled, only lap 2, but you can see able to fend off the cars from behind and thus stop the bleeding. So here on lap 4, overtaking Daniel Ricciardo with these, coming down the long back straight. Let's see what we can do coming down to the Parabolica, and Fernando Alonso, as well as our teammate, running midfield. Not sure what's happened to them. Raikkonen 13th and Alonso 14th, but now able to overtake the Ferrari and line up nicely behind our teammate. Should have no problem getting around him here at the start of lap 5. And DRS now enabled, and all cars involved will be using it. But as you can see, Kimi and Alonso scrapping behind and have no real threat. But that's not true here on lap 5 for Pastor Maldonado. And you can see he's going to have very good pace coming down the back straight, and he's able to overtake us easily on the left-hand side. Let's see if we can outbrake him coming down here, and contact from behind as we come through Ascari, and able to stay on line and stay ahead of Jean-Eric Verne. And rolling up over the curb and losing grip, way too light coming up over the top, and here comes Toro Rosso on the left-hand side. Let's see if he's got the pace to overtake, and we've got another car also trying to get in on the action, and we are nose-to-nose with the Toro Rosso as we come down into the Parabolica. Finally, Jean-Eric Verne falling back now, and we are back into P12, but now setting our sights on Pastor Maldonado. We want P11 back, and as you can see, able to reel him in just a bit here at the start of lap 6, and not sure if we'll be within range of the DRS. No, we will not. So we're going to have to rely on a good old-fashioned outbraking coming down here into turn 1, one of the most difficult braking zones in the entire calendar as far as I'm concerned. But in this case, able to glide through cleanly and able to get P11 back, thankfully. We are scheduled to pit at the end of this lap, but tires looking pretty good, so going to go ahead and gamble and stay out an extra lap. And let's see how many cars we can overtake. Looks like we'll be able to get up into P6, and that's how things would remain until the end of this lap when we finally come in for our pit stop. And as you can see, a number of teams getting ready for their cars, and hopefully we'll be able to beat Sebastian Vettel. Remember, we are 9 points down in the standings, so we want to gain ground on the German. And an impressive 3.3 seconds from the team in the pit stop, so one of the fastest stops I can remember, and that's obviously a welcome sight here as we rejoin in P10. And it looks like we're going to have company coming down the straight here. Heikki Kovalainen in the Caterham, and rejoining behind his teammate Vitaly Petrov. But eventually we'd be able to overtake the Russian as well as Nico Rosberg. So skipping ahead here to lap 9, trying to track down Kamui Kobayashi coming through the Curva Grande. And let's see if we can outbrake him coming down here into the tight chicane. And commotion up ahead, cars off track, can't tell who it is. It looks like one of the Red Bulls. And wheel to wheel with Kobayashi or Rosberg. It was Kobayashi coming around through there, but we were able to exploit and get up into P5. And here at the start of lap 10, able to leapfrog both the McLaren cars, both Hamilton and Button, coming through the chicane and able to get up into a podium position of P3. So here on the start of the final lap, and look who's ahead of us. Sebastian Vettel, contact coming through the chicane there, and thankfully do not spin him out. That would have been a complete disaster, getting a penalty on the last lap of the race, especially with our rival here. But fortunately, no problems as we come around through the Curva Grande and almost coming into contact again, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up with Vettel coming down here into turn 3 and avoiding contact coming down into the braking zone, rolling up over the curb and trying to share real estate through the chicane, and now Vettel and I almost interlocked, dropping a wheel into the gravel and not able to get around the German. So a very spirited exchange there as we try and stay with him coming through the Lesmo corners. And let's see if we can stay within the DRS striking distance coming down the back straight here, and it looks like we should have no problem doing so. And we're going to be running out of time here before too long, so obviously activating the DRS, the curve's long gone. Let's see if we can outbrake him coming down here at the end through Ascari, and coming through on the inside, which is ill-advised because of how easy it is to run off into the sand there, but somehow able to stay on line and get ahead of Vettel. And that's going to get us up into P2, so even though we're not going to be able to compete for the win as Michael Schumacher wins the race, a P2 is a definitive victory, especially after our early off. And of course, beating out Sebastian Vettel, who finished 4th in the end. Let's take a look at the race results. Michael Schumacher winning the race. Kamui Kobayashi surprisingly 3rd there, but remember, we did improve the Sauber car last year, so we shouldn't be that surprised. And Mark Webber and Sergio Perez not finishing the race. And because of our resolve, look at this, only 3 points behind Sebastian Vettel and Michael Schumacher, all of a sudden creeping into the picture for the Drivers' Championship. And this race result would get him up to 4th in the standings. So moving on to Marina Bay, hoping to build on the momentum. Here on lap 1, almost having problems here with the Caterham. And you can see just how much commotion and how busy it is as I'm trying to negotiate to get around the Force India car. Here on the exit of turn 5 as we come down Raffles Boulevard for the first time. And Singapore, not one of my strongest tracks, in fact, one of my worst. And so just hoping to basically keep things on the rails, trying to cut on the inside of Jean-Eric Verne here, and wheel-to-wheel with the Toro Rosso, able to get up into P16, and being very, very careful with the brakes, coming through this very tight corner, and almost coming into contact with Bruno Senna, and just very, very tricky conditions here in Singapore. Very, very challenging always. So skipping ahead here to lap 2, already up into P14, trying to make a move on the inside of Daniel Ricciardo, and have to fall back there. And contact with the wall with my tire there, and almost spinning out, but able to avoid doing so, but not before a number of cars were able to get around us. And having to put it in reverse just to get back on track. What a disaster. Exactly what I didn't want to see happen. There's Nico Hulkenberg trying to regain our composure as we come through this very tight chicane, and trying to avoid contact with the back markers, able to shoot in front of Timo Glock and get back up into P20, but obviously not a great start. So here at turn 1, contact up ahead with Petrov, and it looks like Jean-Eric Verne, and fortunately able to avoid the fray, but Vitaly Petrov extremely slow coming around turn 3, and where is the flip the bird button when you need it? Finally able to get around the Caterham. Here on lap 4, coming through the very tight bridge and missing the apex altogether, and that's going to cost me my front wing. I have not gone into pit yet, of course. Not going to lose a position as a result, but obviously a complete catastrophe. Going to have to go into pit, so obviously losing time here as we get our wing changed, and they are going to do a tire change, putting me on the prime tires. And so the question naturally becomes, will I be able to make these sets of tires last till the end of the race? It's possible. I may have to pit one more time, hopefully not. But you can see here, looks like we'll be overtaken by Charles Peak. That's going to put us down into P22 on rejoining here on lap 5. So things not going well here at Singapore at all. But also kind of par for the course for me when it comes to this circuit, unfortunately. So now here at the start of lap 7, overtaking a handful of cars, coming in through the pit lane, and able to get a purple lap time. So that's good news, as we get in front of everyone else to get up into P17, chasing down Pastor Maldonado, and able to get around him eventually. Now looking at the back of Karthikeyan and the HRT, and losing control here, and more damage to the front wing. And there goes Sebastian Vettel, who's having a terrible race, much like myself, and so instead of exploiting that fact, here I am wallowing in the mire, just trying to stay in the race. But let's see what we can do about Sebastian Vettel. Can't let him beat us. And so trying to stretch our legs out, able to overtake him here as we come down into this extremely slow turning zone, and able to get ahead of him with no problem. Now trying to get in front of Karthikeyan, and for some reason being told that I had an illegal overtake. Have no idea what's happened, but they're asking me to let Vettel by. And if I had to guess, I'd have to think that Vettel probably got on the phone with Horner and cried like a little girl, because that was not an illegal overtake as far as I could tell. But nothing we can do about that now, but you can see my frustration boiling over, butchering some of these corners, and Sebastian Vettel giving me a hard time coming around turn 20. And so trying to catch him up here at the pit lane, and very, very slow here. And there goes my front wing, and there goes Maldonado. Sebastian Vettel, for reasons unknown to me, came to almost a dead crawl there. I don't know if he was debating on going into pit or what was going on, but that was inexcusable. And now very slow here, and I think Sebastian Vettel has spun out. Yes, he has. I'm given a penalty for coming into the back of Sebastian Vettel, and that was completely inadvertent, but obviously this is a very ugly exchange between Sebastian Vettel and I. You want to talk about rivalries. I'm losing my line here coming around turn 5, and there goes my front wing yet again. There goes Pastor Maldonado, and now being told by the engineers that I have no DRS. This race has disintegrated. Or has it? As I lose my braking point here, and because of the front wing damage, slides straight into the barrier and puncture my left front wheel, and adding salt to the wound, there goes Sebastian Vettel. I can't even keep it on the tarmac. Remember, I haven't even gone in through my drive-through penalty. This is just to get repairs squared away. So after this and the drive-through, it's really hard to imagine getting back into this race, especially when we're over the halfway point. Even on this difficulty level, probably not going to happen. So this is obviously going to be a day to forget, as the team gets us out on a pretty slow time. But of course we did have the wing change, and coming around turn 5, losing my apex just after getting the tires warmed up, and perhaps mercifully my day would end here. Turn 5, very, very tricky, and basically just did not have the temperature where I needed it to be. And look at this, Kimi Räikkönen, our teammate, also did not finish, so a terrible day for Lotus. Sebastian Vettel only finishing 10th, but look at this, Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher have leapfrogged both Vettel and I for both 1 and 2 in the Drivers' Championship. So now there are 4 drivers involved in the chase, and only 8 points separate the 4 of us, so unbelievable. We'll have to see what happens in Japan. I'll hope to see you there.